Welcome to Sticks and Stones. I am Michelle Housebeck, and I am here today with my guest, Taiya Thompson.
Hello.
We are on the road for the summer months, and today we are at Taiya's co-working space, Bloom, which is downtown off 7th and Bonneville. It is the cutest space ever. If you have not seen it,
It is.
come check it out.
You must.
Yes. So, Taiya, you
Michelle.
work out of here as co-working. What do you do out of Bloom?
Oh, so hi everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Taiya Thompson. I own a essential oil and hemp infused wellness company called Crooked Cactus CBD. And we basically make products to help you feel and be well so you can do more of what you love and what makes you happy.
That's awesome.
What I do out of here is all of our administrative stuff because obviously we're not manufacturing oil.
You have a location for that, right?
Yes. So we have production facilities, commercial kitchen units. My mom is actually on a mad dash to fulfill some dog biscuit orders, which is our #1 bestseller.
I've tried them for my
And
puppies.
customer sitting right here. So yeah, we have separate production facilities, but sometimes you need to have a beautiful space with amazing energy, and so that's what I do here at Bloom. Is a lot of our content creation work, just working on the business rather than in the business.
Right, and that's an important thing. So all that content creation work, where can that be found?
At crookedcactuscbd.com or at everywhere, all the socials, we're Crooked Cactus CBD.
So Instagram, Facebook.
Crooked Cactus CBD.
Perfect.
Yes.
And thank you for introducing yourself. I always forget to introduce myself.
Please. Our host, Michelle, introduce yourself.
I always forget that. So I am Michelle Housebeck. As I said, I own a design and marketing company called Housebeck Brand, and I help businesses develop, design, manage, train, and market their brands.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's fun. I love it. And this is Sticks and Stones. If you've never joined me before for the show, it is a show based around words. So we all have heard that old adage, sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt me. BS. Right.
Yeah.
Words are very impactful in our lives, whether they're positive or whether they're negative, whether it's other people saying words to us or us saying words to ourselves. We tend to
words to ourselves.
Yeah, we tend to treat ourselves worse, I think, than we treat other people, which is very hard to correct that at times. But you need to be aware to
Ding, ding, ding.
to be able to notice when you're doing that and correct it. So I may or may not have given a little hint to a word that could be coming up in this episode. So how it works is Taiya's going to go ahead and share a word
Oh, I'm first.
in her life. Yep.
Oh.
I'm changing it up a bit. And kind of the story circled around it. And then I'm going to share a word with you guys and what it means to me and the story surrounding that. So, what's your word?
I was going back and forth between a couple of words, but being that Michelle just used one of the words, I'm going to use that as it manifesting for me. So my word is aware, or the concept of just awareness, okay? And I think this is super important because, as you just alluded to, you need to be aware of the thoughts and words and everything, really. Just self-awareness, awareness in your business, awareness in life, because
Right.
if you're not aware of it, you can't fix it.
Very true.
Right?
Right. That's the first step.
That's the first step, right? The first step to even having words and thoughts and behaviors and attitudes is like awareness around it. And so the stories that I wanted to share really around awareness is just some times in my life where awareness has elevated, and as a result either changed the trajectory of my life or really just allowed me to be able to evolve. And through that evolvement and that growth, that's how we, burst through those comfort levels. That's how we get to better our lives and better our businesses. And it all starts with awareness.
Yeah, it does. That is the first spot.
Yeah, so one of my earliest is I was never a personal development junkie. I grew up in a home with a mom and a grandma that were just amazing women and role models. And so there wasn't really a lot of talk about being a good person or being a better person. I just watched them and then just tried to do like they did.
Right.
So my first bout of the concept of words being more than just a word and having impact in our life is, first when my son was born, he was born with Down syndrome. And my very first time of really having an impact of how much of a rippling effect a word can have is with my son and the use of the word, the R, what we call in the community, the R word.
Oh,
retarded.
Yep.
So I grew up in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right? Where everything was like, oh, that's so retarded, or no, right?
Right. Not meaning
Not
derogatory
meaning
necessarily.
anything. Not really having an understanding of what that meant.
Right.
And then now that I found myself in the special needs community with a son, you actually realize that, it is marginalizing that word. And it is very offensive to a whole population of people because the inferences that it makes.
Right.
And, you might say it flippantly, like, oh, that's so retarded, but what you're really saying is far beyond that.
Yeah.
And if you have that word in your head and you're saying it, those words can, your words are thoughts are words.
Right.
Those thoughts then, repeated thoughts are beliefs.
Yep.
Those beliefs then turn into attitudes and then behavior, and that's how it shows up in the world. So if you're somebody who will willingly say the R word knowing that it's offensive to an entire population, then perhaps part of your character is behaving as if you were someone who is offensive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was part of my very first awareness is, wow, words really are impactful and they can be offensive. Like if you're not someone who says the N word, you probably shouldn't be somebody who says the R word.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So there was a whole degree of awareness that came out of that. And then second, like one of the most profound awarenesses around words is I got involved in Send Out Cards. And the founder of Send Out Cards is Cody Bateman. And I remember in your last episode, you were talking about how you got started with Rodan and Fields.
Right.
And your professional community was like, what the heck?
They were.
Right? Like, why are you doing this?
Right.
And you have very good reasons for doing that. There are amazing reasons on why you would go into an MLM or a direct sales company.
Right.
Even if you weren't wanting the financial gain, I firmly believe that when you're in that type of organization, it's a personal development with a check. Like you've even credited Rodan and Fields with, hey, I'm so now amazing at doing live video because of Rodan and Fields, like forced me to really take that on and gave you training.
Absolutely.
So anyhow, awareness around Cody Bateman has always said the stories in our mind become the stories of our life. And that was so profound to me that, and really that awareness started me on a path of manifestation and raising your vibration to where you really can create the environment that you want with your thoughts, which are words in your head. So just awareness around that, I started shifting mentally, like those conversations that we have with ourselves and really putting me on a path of self-awareness and what kind of environment am I creating physically, emotionally, etc.
Yeah.
So without that awareness, who knows where I'd be.
Mm-hmm.
And then just now, Awareness around, probably most prevalent right now is just awareness around how we came about with Crooked Cactus is I'm not going to say a fluke because
You have a great
I
story.
manifested it, right? There's an amazing story around it, but without the awareness of and a strong drive to help people and awareness of where we are in society with people not feeling well, they're not doing good, people are sick, they're hooked on drugs, like opioids, and you know, they're really, the hustle is glorified right now. And
It
so,
is.
and people are just like, look what's going on in our communities and in the world. Like the vibration is really low right now. You can't even turn on the TV without seeing devastation. So awareness around that and really wanting to play a bigger part in the world of raising that vibration is really the story behind Crooked Cactus, and having that awareness and being able to articulate that and really live it is what keeps us going through the entrepreneurial ups and downs that we were talking about before camera.
Yes.
But yeah, so awareness. Like, you need to have awareness of your thoughts, awareness of the words that you're using, awareness of the company that you're keeping, awareness around the environment that you're creating, because then you have knowledge and you can make a choice and do differently if you need to or want to.
Right. And I firmly believe, I mean, everything you just said hits home for me. I grew up too not really being into self-development. I had, great parents. They were great role models. And then there were some things that happened in my life, and I realized words are really impactful. And what we think really is what we manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people don't give enough credit to the words in our heads and the thoughts and the self-talk that we have. And it is something to really pay attention to and learn to be aware. I talk a lot about the subconscious when it comes to, branding and marketing, but the subconscious is grabbing what we're thinking and we're saying to ourselves without us even knowing it until we can become aware. It's a learned lesson, and it's a journey, right? You constantly have to be aware of it and be cognizant to be aware of it to really make changes in that aspect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in one of your episodes, you talked about, by giving we have emotions running through it. This is paraphrasing. We all have these emotions running through us, and by giving it a word, you can deal with it. And I would even go much further to say that the emotions are there because whether we're aware of it or not, we've already given words to it in the form of a story. Because an event that happens is just an event. It's the story that you put around that event that causes the emotion. So if you make an event where, oh my God, why did this happen to me? It happened to me because I must be stupid and fat and whatever.
The rabbit hole,
right?
That we all go down.
I got fired from a career that I thought that I would have been in for the rest of my life. I worked at Fidelity Investments for 15 years, top producer, and got fired. And, the facts is I was overpaid, they're a company, and there were 16 of us, and we all got let go, right? But the story for so many years after that was, I could have produced more. I could have done this better. I could have took on more leadership. I wasn't this enough. I wasn't that enough, right? So the emotion is there because of the story that we tell ourselves. So it takes that awareness to be able to say, hey, wait a second. Stop. Cut.
Time out.
Right? Stop the film playing, right? Rewind.
Right.
What actually happened, and be curious about that. What is that true?
Yeah. And
even if it is true, is it serving you? Because if it's not serving you, then why continue to tell the story?
Yeah.
Choose different words.
choose different words. Well, and also too, if it's something, that happened in the past, you have a choice to learn from it, right? But don't carry the past with you into the future. Right. That's a really hard one to do, especially with certain situations. However, you were let go, and once you were aware of the story you were telling yourself, then it's done.
Yeah.
Like, let's move forward, whatever lessons you learned from it, and even the self-discovery of the story you were telling yourself.
Yeah.
But let's move forward. That stop letting it hold you back in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that goes into your word.
It does. Well, I was just going to say, this is a fantastic transition. Thank you, Taiya. My word is doubt. And it is something that I've been grappling with actually for the last month and a half. It has showed up numerous times in my life, and I'm sure it still will. And I think it shows up in everyone's life. But, if you know anything about me or follow me, you know that I just launched my rebrand. And with that, there's a lot of emotions tied to it for me. And there were some changes that I wanted made, in the internal side of the business that would show up external besides just, the look and the name. And I didn't make those as quickly or swiftly as I thought I would or should. And then compound some things that happened personally for me. This time of year is really tough for me because of some things that have happened in the past that I'm still trying to, work through. And it was just this mountain and cycle of doubt. Should I be doing this? Am I good enough? I'm not good enough. Should I be doing something else? Why am I doing this? You name it, the questions that just go through your head when you're doubting yourself. And that I've just been stuck. I've been stuck for the past month and a half, and it was really frustrating. And, I reflect practically every day, and I'm, very much a self-improvement junkie and really like to reflect. And through that, honestly, it's helped me. I had a light bulb moment this weekend, actually. And it was, okay, well, the reason you're doubting yourself is because you're not taking any action or don't have a plan to do the things you wanted to do. Yes. So I changed that. I put together a plan yesterday. I started implementing it this morning, and I have a much clearer vision of where I want to go. Some of the things too that circle in doubt, I think I call it getting beat up, not literally, physically or even emotionally, but like things happen in business and things happen in life. And for whatever reason, when it rains, it pours, and it just things compound one after the other. And sometimes it might be something that you could have corrected. Sometimes things just happen, right?
It's life.
Yeah, we're all interacting with one another. So a lot of the times another person's going to affect something. And that's what it was like, I think, for the past couple weeks for me, compounded on top of how I was already feeling. There are just things in business and personal that just piled on. I was like, ugh. I posted a picture of a roller coaster on my Facebook page.
Yes, with no track.
With the track removed from where the roller coaster was, because that's how I've been feeling.
And it was upside down.
But this doubt thing, in some weird way, I think it's healthy if you can grab a hold of it, because it helps you reevaluate what you're doing at times. It's kind of like a check.
Sure.
Okay, well, why do I feel this way then? Why do I feel like I'm not good enough? Or why do I feel like I don't want to do this, or I've disappointed people, or I'm disappointing myself? All those things we say in our head. It gives you a chance to answer those questions.
Well, and
or go learn more.
Physiologically, we're wired that way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, your body doesn't know that it's a saber-toothed tiger chasing after you, or your fear is because you have all of this other stuff going on, right? Physiology just says, oh, hey. hormones are changing, this is going on, adrenaline is pumping, like fight or flight. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
So I think that's important for us to check in and let our bodies know, hey, I don't have a bone in my head. I'm not living in a cave, and I'm not being chased by a Tyrannosaurus Rex or whatever. I don't know. The cavemen weren't alive, I guess, during that time. Like a saber-toothed tiger. Or it's, again, my story telling me that I don't know what to do, I'm not good enough, etc. And then you can check in and make that plan. I work with a coach. I call him my woo-woo coach or my energy coach. It absolutely does not do him credit. But for people who have not got to that level of self-awareness, it's the only way that I can explain in a way that makes sense to them, right? Because all of this stuff to those people is woo-woo. But he always says, like, wherever there is confusion or doubt or basically fear, it all comes down to lack of clarity. Because if you were clear, you would just do it.
You just hit, honestly, like the nail on the head with that one. Because without clarity, I mean, where do you go?
You don't know.
You're stuck. You don't know. And I think doubt's a huge cloud in there. And it needs to be cleared and to figure out, where it's coming from, why you feel that way, the story you're telling, everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And one thing that's really interesting that you just said, and I've heard this before in a different way, is our body doesn't know, the difference between like sarcasm, seriousness, or not. So if I say something sarcastic, but it is negative, my body doesn't know really the difference between that.
Wow.
And also, like, I'm very careful too. It's funny when I don't feel well, right? Like, I really do have a cold, or I really don't feel well. I'm even very cautious to say I'm sick. I try to say I'm going to feel better, because the body doesn't know the difference. So if I'm saying I'm sick, then it's creating, right, that I'm sick. I don't feel well. I'm not going to get better. It's creating all these things in my head. So I'm very careful, even like to that degree, about what I say.
Yeah, I mean, because it's all whether what did it say? Whether you're right. What's that saying? Whether you're right or wrong, you're right, because whatever your brain is saying is what's happening.
Yeah. It can't decipher.
You guys know what I'm talking about.
Do a little hand raise emoji if you know what we're trying to say. Because we seem to understand one another.
We're on the same wave right here. Like, forget we have like an audience that needs to understand the words that are coming out of our mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Whether you're right or wrong, you're right. Because what you're saying in your head is about what your body is understanding.
Yes, exactly.
I hope I said that
perfect sense to me.
Well, I think that we're coming to the end of our time here.
Oh, goes by so fast.
I know, doesn't it? It's so funny. When I started speaking at the networking group, they give you 10 minutes, and I about wanted to have a heart attack and go throw up. And I got up there, and I was like, oh.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I thought that was like 2 minutes. One thing, though, before we go, I wanted to touch on this, and I know it's a longer story, and I don't know if there's a way that you can say it in a nutshell, but I think it perfectly pairs with your word, with awareness, and that is one of the pivotal reasons that you even got into the investigation of what CBD can do and how it can help people. Can you share that with us?
Me and brevity are not ever used like in the States.
That's okay. It's my show. We can go on.
But yes. Okay. So my son was born with Down syndrome. Birth to 3. All of the fears that we had like really dissipated, and then between 3 and 6, complete reversion or regression. And there was a lot going on where behaviors, getting kicked out of school, lost all of his language, his ability to communicate. And so it took a lot of awareness on my part, first of all, because all of the doctors were saying this is just part of him having Down syndrome. And I'm acutely aware of what Down syndrome looks like, because as soon as he was born, I got immersed into the community. So I also co-run a group called Moms Offering Mom Support, Mom Southern Nevada, which is a support group for mothers of children with Down syndrome. So if any of you are watching that have friends who have children with Down syndrome and need a place of support and guidance, and with people who are in their same shoes, let me know.
Yeah, drop a comment or reach out to Taiya if you do have interest.
So I'm very aware of what Down syndrome looks like. We have almost 250 families in there. Kian didn't look like anybody. So awareness around that. And then also awareness around, I know that I'm his best advocate, that we don't have to just do what the doctors say, that we can ask questions, we can ask for more help, and we can ask for more answers, like demand answers. So ultimately, we were able to get him diagnosed properly and with a good team, and the end result was sensory processing disorder, ADHD, placed on the autism spectrum, of course, born with Down syndrome, and then we found out that he was having petite seizures, so something called partial seizure disorder. So at that point, the doctors wanted to basically put him on this pharmaceutical cocktail, and awareness around what those long-term effects are. We just halted everything and thought, we're going to try to handle this naturally. And my best hope at that point was, if we can just cut it down. Right. If we can just reduce the amount or number of medications that he would be on for the rest of his life, then we would be blessed. So we went out searching for natural solutions, wasn't looking for CBD, but thank God we found it. And again, thank God it worked. Like within 3 weeks, we noticed significant behavior improvements. And by 3 months, I heard mom for the very first time in 3.5 years.
Wow.
So his language started coming back, and I'm like, holy crap, like there's something to this.
Yeah, this is working.
let's double down, So we dug into the research, found out that it's super important where the plant comes from, how it's grown, what the other contents that are in the bottle. We found out that the brand we were using was extracting with things like acetone and butane. Not good.
No.
My mom has always grown recreationally, so my whole life, and my dad's been a happy user, been a factor of that. So they were like, hey, we're doing this, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
And just awareness around, all right, we're just going to give him the best product that we can do. And that has just blossomed into the business because other people took notice about how well Kian was doing. And then I've improved my health. My mom has significantly improved her health. And ultimately, that's grown into what Crooked Cactus is.
Yeah.
And I spend a lot of my day, like as CEO of Crooked Cactus, it's really chief education officer, because it's all about creating awareness around what CBD is and what's not, what hemp is and what it's not, and awareness just around living cleaner lives and what we're putting in our bodies. Yeah. Although I got a Starbucks sitting off camera.
I just finished mine. Little by little, right? Little by little.
Yeah, little by little bit. Like just awareness around all of that, wanting just to do better.
My favorite part of your story, I've heard her story a couple times, and why I respect you and admire you so much is because you had the awareness and the balls. I mean, honestly, to realize, what the doctors are saying isn't the end all be all.
Right.
You had, this is where the balls come into play, to continue searching, to say no, like something doesn't feel right, I am aware enough to know that there are alternative ways that we could help my son and not damage him at the same time
Right.
with all those long-term effects. And the fact that that is one of the way Crooked Cactus really came to be was because of that. Just, you know, I'm all about branding and the story and the why. And I just love what you have built out of truly love for your son. And now, you know, the love and wanting to help others, be it whatever their situation is, with alternative ways to help them.
Yeah.
So they have
Thank
choices. You're welcome.
It was love and also a little bit of selfishness, because just having kids alone is taxed. Like being a mom is a big deal.
Yes.
But when your kids aren't well, you're not well, right?
Yeah.
Like I talk, like our mission of our company is to help people get out of their own way and basically heal or alleviate some of the issues that are holding them back. Because when Keaton was going through what he was going through, we were literally prisoners in our house.
Yeah.
I was not doing anything that I loved to do because I was caring for this poor child that was a prisoner in his body, right? So he wasn't joyful or happy in his body. I wasn't joyful or happy in my home because we're prisoners of it and helpless and desperate, you know, to help somebody that I didn't know how to help and couldn't even articulate the words to be able to get himself the help. So it all just
that's love for yourself.
It is love. Love for herself, love for
your
family.
Yeah.
And I just think if everyone did more of what made them happy and did more of what they love, this world would be a better place.
I agree. That's a great note to end it on.
So go do something you love.
Go do something you love.
Do something that in fact, drop in the comments things that make you happy, and let's make sure you're doing more of those things. What makes you happy?
What makes you happy? That's great. I just put up the post today. Choose happy.
You did?
I did.
Didn't see that yet.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Choose happy. What makes you happy?
Manifest it. I manifested that.
You did. You totally did. That's crazy. If y'all think we're nuts, you can put that in the comments too. Just put the emoji of the little nut icon. All right, guys, thank you for joining us. We will be back next month on the road. I don't know where yet, so it'll be a surprise. Thank you for joining us today, Taiya.
Thank you for having me.
That was awesome. Have a great week. Choose happy, be aware, and get rid of that doubt. Or use doubt as a check-in. We'll say that. Okay. Goodbye.